Welcome in to this Wednesday edition of the Flagship. I am your host, Zach Berry. May is here. April has come and gone. College baseball season is coming to a to an end very soon for Ole Miss. David, unless they catch fire, it's probably going to be it for the Rebels this month. But good morning. Appreciate you joining, man. How we doing?
Good morning. Doing well. Just getting the NFL draft was last week. Got that out of the way, and
Yes.
now it's just it's the slow-ish. There's no real slow season anymore, but it's slower. It's just baseball and OTAs and rookie camp and all that stuff. The NFL never quite sleeps.
Real quick, David, I'm pretty sure we will do a live effort on this. You went to a public high school, correct?
I did. Yes.
Okay, so simpatico here. Shout out all 10 of the 2024 NFL draft picks who played high school football in Southern California were all public school kids.
That's cool. I didn't know that.
Yeah.
That's an interesting tidbit.
So take that, C-suite. Real quick housekeeping note on baseball. Look, we're not going to talk about baseball. I know y'all don't want to hear about it. We're going to talk NFL draft and recap last week's episode, but I did see that tonight's Governor's Cup game between Mississippi State and Ole Miss has been picked up by ESPN2.
Oh, cool.
So first pitch has been moved to 6 to 6:30 Central Time. So you will be able to watch that on cable if you if you're so inclined to watch that. But yeah, let's get to the draft, David. Look, this has become a yearly tradition, even with some new people in charge. The Titans somehow disappoint me again. I don't dislike the J.C. Latham pick, but Olu Fashanu was right there.
Right.
The Titans are convinced that they think Latham is good enough to play left tackle. I'm not saying he can't. I am not a scout. I'm not a GM for an NFL organization, but he mostly played right tackle in college. I was a little bit, dare I say, befuddled with that pick, David. Wasn't a huge fan, but yeah, for the rest of the draft for the Titans, it was fine. I didn't think it was terrible. The Athletic certainly has a differing opinion. 26th out of 32 teams. I do like T'Vondre Sweat in the second round to go alongside Jeffrey Simmons and everybody up front. It seems like the Titans are still trying to get better in the trenches, even though the defense was fairly good a year ago. But yeah, I think J.C. Latham is a really good pickup. That's been kind of the thing. The Titans were pretty upfront with, hey, we believe he can be the left tackle for Will Levis. So you didn't have boots on the ground, but for the Cardinals, it seems like the heir apparent to Larry Fitzgerald has arrived.
Yeah, the Cardinals. Yeah, I wasn't in Detroit or anything, but I was at the Cardinals facility on draft night and everything. And yeah, that was one of the bigger no-brainers in recent history, particularly for what the Cardinals needed. I mean, they were in a really good spot. You knew the first three teams all wanted quarterbacks. And so you get the best either playmaker, edge rusher, whatever you think. And that's what the Cardinals have really needed. Somebody ever since really DeAndre Hopkins left, obviously, and then Larry Fitzgerald, a franchise icon. Obviously the comparisons make sense. But Marvin Harrison seems like one of the more slam dunk picks in recent history. Time will tell, but a 6'4" kid who can, there's not a lot to, when you're picking apart somebody's game. But, I think back though to 3 or 4 years ago, Isaiah Simmons was picked by the Cardinals in number 7 overall. And we all thought that was an amazing pick. I mean, that was roundly, nobody disliked that pick. And it ended up that Isaiah Simmons is just kind of a guy. So who knows? I have a hard time believing Marvin Harrison's going to be just a guy, but, we'll see how it goes.
Shout out to Mississippi native Trey Benson. Was picked up in the third round. A guy that I believe Hugh Freeze's staff did not think could play running back, and look at him now. Um, I really liked the Dadrian Taylor Demerson pickup. He was a lot of fun to watch at Texas Tech. And then look at some value down there in the fifth round. Xavier Thomas, former 5-star.
Yeah, absolutely. I like that pick a lot just because I think there's only so many humans that size, 5-star. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? Like, that's a good, especially the fifth round. That's a really good. I know his college career was a little up and down, and he's been very open about some of his personal struggles and everything during that time. But I think that was a pretty solid pick. And then late in the first round, the Cardinals when SEC got Darius Robinson, the defensive lineman, very productive.
Yeah.
He was he was hilarious because the Cardinals introduced them the next day, and Darius Robinson looked starstruck by Marvin Harrison, just like everybody else. He was just like, "I'm sitting next to Marvin Harrison." It was hilarious. But he's a big guy that's real versatile on the defensive line. They needed some dudes like that, so it seemed like a good pickup.
Yeah, I like the Thomas pickup. It probably like a uh he'll have to get acclimated. I mean, duh, it's the NFL. Everybody has to get acclimated, but probably like a package, edge guy to start, and then to get his
Yeah,
footing, I think he'll be fine. But yeah, I
no,
like I
the
like that.
Cardinals drafted 12 guys, and I think there's a really good chance that at least 10 of them, you know, have a spot on the roster and make some sort of impact. And I that's exactly what they needed. They needed to replenish a lot of spots.
Yeah, I mean, Dane Brugler always says like he calls it the unwritten rule of the draft is to try to land 4 starters. Um, and yeah, I mean, I think the Cardinals got a good shot at just looking at the list, at least 4.
Yeah. I mean, Trey Benson is going to back up James Conner this year, but Conner's contract is up after 24. I mean, if Trey Benson is as good as we all think, then he's the starter in 2025.
Yeah,
So that's starter number 3. Uh,
yeah,
they picked up that tight end from Illinois that was a kind of a workout warrior, and I think he will start to some degree, in certain double tight end packages because they've already got Trey McBride. But
yeah,
Tip Ryman, I think was his name from Illinois. Go with that Brett Bielema route.
yeah. uh, looking at Ole Miss,
They got some guys late.
yeah, Bengals went back to
Yeah,
back.
I was about to say the Bengals. Bengals are big
Um,
Ole Miss fans.
yeah, Cedric Johnson and Dejon Anthony
Dejon Anthony.
go to the Bengals, which I think both of them could certainly find a spot on a roster. I think the intrigue was always there with Cedric Johnson. He had some injuries at Ole Miss, but the frame is there. You can't really teach that, and I think that the Bengals are going to want to get their paws on him and see what they can get. And then I think Dejon Anthony's versatile enough to find a spot at the very least on special teams.
Right, I was about to say that pick, especially in the 7th round. Those safety. I think of back from my time, a Jamarcus Sanford type player
Yeah,
that started out on special teams and then really became a pretty good defensive player too for several years. But that's a lot of those guys that are safety size, smaller linebackers. I mean, you've got to find a way to impact special teams, and that's how you kind of get your career started.
yeah, and then DeAndre Prince lands with the Jags, head to Duval County, 5th round. That's a good it's a good spot for him. Um, coming back and handling business and having a really good year after that stopgap, going to JUCO and then going back to Ole Miss. But yeah, I mean, you look at it across the board. The ones we haven't mentioned, uh, Dayton Wade, undrafted free agent. I mean, I might have to break
Went to
the
the
Cardinal.
Ravens.
I might have to break the Cardinal sin of Titans fans that if Dayton Wade makes it, I'm going to cheer for Dayton Wade. Um, then you've got Zamari Walton with the Chargers. You've got Spencer Sanders getting picked up by the Chiefs. You've got Isaac Ukwu to Detroit, Deshaun Gaddy to the Panthers, Jeremiah Jean-Baptiste joining Zamari Walton in LA with the Chargers, and then Stephon Wynn with the Seahawks. So all in all, I mean, a pretty solid draft for Ole Miss. And look, this is now 63 NFL draft picks for Lane Kiffin coach teams. The funniest thing that I heard after the draft, our buddy Ben Woodhouse, he sent like a laughing emoji to our group text and said, "Ole Miss just went 11-2 with 3 draft picks."
I was thinking the same thing. For a team that was a legit top 10 team, with such hype, like that says a ton that they only had 3 draft picks all on the third day, and they're bringing back so much talent. I think 2025 is going to be a huge draft for Ole Miss. At least it should be if everything goes the way everybody expects.
Yeah. So let's get into it. I know people are already doing some mock drafts for 2025, which yeah, sure, it's silly, but we're happy that people are doing it so we can do this.
Right. Gives us something to talk about. I keep seeing people like Walter Nolen. I know that.
Yeah. I did see some good value on plus 2,000 on James Pierce being the number 1 overall pick, the Tennessee edge rusher. He was phenomenal a year ago. I think we'll see if he can build on that. But you've got some of the top names. Will Campbell, the left tackle at LSU, is up at the top. You've got Carson Beck from Georgia. You've got a couple SEC guys, and Kelvin Banks Jr. is an offensive lineman in Texas. Deion Walker is a defensive lineman for Kentucky.
Yeah, I'm going to give a shout out to my AP colleague Ralph Russo, who was the Mississippi writer for back in the Eli Manning years. That's who was there for Eli Manning. But he did a 2025 mock draft for us, and he's got Carson Beck going number 1. He's got the edge rusher Williams from Georgia going number 2. He's got Will Campbell, the offensive tackle from LSU, going number 3. Benjamin Morrison, corner from Notre Dame, going 4. And then James Pierce, you talked about the Tennessee edge rusher, going 5. And then this was interesting. Shedeur Sanders, quarterback Colorado, going number 6.
I don't
that
see
feels
it.
a little aggressive. That feels a little aggressive, but I don't know.
I don't get it. Like, I go back and forth a lot with our buddy Gray Hardison at Red Cup. And he has some good points where he's like, look, he was on a bad team and he made plays, he put up numbers. Now he has a little bit of Caleb Williams in him where he does have the ability to extend plays, but it can get him into trouble. But I do have to give him credit where I think he should receive some general amount of hype for just how he was able to throw for over 3,000 yards and 31 touchdowns on a Colorado team that was just abysmal. And, Travis Hunter, his best, his favorite target, his best receiver was banged up.
Was out for a big chunk of the year. Yeah, I was kind of the same. I mean, the whole Deion Prime, the whole hype train, you kind of wonder what's hype and what's not. But I give Shedeur Sanders credit. Like you said, he made that jump from Jackson State to Colorado and did it really well and was productive with a very, like you said, kind of a mediocre offense for that level. So I don't know. I still want to see more, but he's answered the bell most of the time. So I get it.
I've seen several mocks that have Princely Umanmielen.
Yeah, this one has Walter Nolen number 7 to the Vikings.
Okay, all right. I'm looking at one on CBS. Umanmielen going 11 to the Seahawks. Pro Football Focus has one with Tre Harris going 30th overall to the Ravens.
I really like Tre Harris.
Yeah, I mean, I think he's really primed to make himself some money this season.
I think in the NFL he could be what I thought Laquan Treadwell was going to be.
Yeah, I mean, knock on wood that doesn't happen to Tre Harris, but I mean, yeah, I think the sky was the limit for Treadwell before the injury. And still, I mean, the guy still played in the league for years.
Oh yeah,
Right.
and
The
and
injury.
and I'm not sure. Who knows, but I'm not sure how much that injury had long term effects. I just
Yeah.
always thought he was going to be slightly more productive than he was, but he did have a long career. I mean, there are worse things in the world.
No. We've got the Athletic. Dane Brugler's done a mock. He's got Walter Nolen um, going to the Packers, 23rd overall. There's a lot here with different Ole Miss players where I think everyone around them is going to help. Where Tre Harris, I think, is going to have an opportunity to have a big year because of the weapons that have been added on offense. And you've got Dart back. Juice Wells has been added. I mean, Juice Wells could be a, a day one, day two guy. Comes back from the foot injury. Just having Tre Harris on the other side will benefit him. Caden Priestcorn being there is going to benefit the offense. And then, on defense, I mean, it's a no brainer with Umanmielen, Walter Nolen, JJ Pegues. I mean, all of those defensive players up front in the trenches are just going to, they'll be able to feed off each other um, in more ways than one. So, yeah, I mean, I don't think it's crazy, David, to think that Ole Miss in the first 2 days of next year's draft could have 4 or 5 dudes go off the board.
Absolutely. I mean, like the saying goes, a rising tide raises all boats. Like, I mean, I think scouts are going to pay a lot of attention to Ole Miss this year because they have so many blue chip guys. And again, if they play well, you're watching film of maybe Walter Nolen, and then all of a sudden you're like, hey, Pegues is really standing out. Who's this number? Who's this guy? Who's
Yeah.
this guy? And then you start, you hear stories all the time about like a baseball player who was discovered because a scout was scouting somebody else, and then, they looked at the pictures like, who's this guy throwing 92 or so? Like,
Yeah.
that stuff happens all the time. And I mean, I think the same thing could happen with Ole Miss. Like, and not even necessarily for, you know, first round type guys. I'm talking guys that, might even be like backups or, just not as important players, but go in the fifth or sixth round just because people see them.
Yeah. I mean, I think I don't see, well, I mean, 7 picks is a lot. I think that Kiffin could potentially, with a big year, hey, what kind of year does Jaxson Dart have?
Sure.
What do the running backs do? What about the offensive linemen that were picked up via the portal? Good shot that Ole Miss could get Kiffin to 70 plus draft picks next year.
No question. I mean, this team, every time I look at the Ole Miss roster, they're loaded. They're good. And
Yeah.
I like I said, this is hype that is rare for Ole Miss, but it's also hype that I think is deserved at this point.
Yeah, for sure. All right. Before we get into second part of our show here, I do want to remind you one thing that you don't have to wait until next year's draft to find out about. The hype is very real. It's been proven, and that's College Corner, our good friends. 3 locations: Oxford, Ridgeland, Flowood. Scott and the folks take care of us, and they will take care of you. And right now, if you go to the Oxford location, you make any purchase there, you leave a tip, it will go straight to the Grove Collective, which will benefit Ole Miss athletics. And you will be entered into a chance to win a signed Grove Collective football by Lane Kiffin. The promo ends May 15th. It's only at the Oxford location. So if you're in town for a baseball series, maybe, you got a kid or a family member or a friend is graduating. Maybe if you're in town for, whatever, go by Sisk Avenue in Oxford and make your purchase, leave a tip, and give yourself a shot at winning that signed football by Lane Kiffin. All right. I do. We have to talk about it, David. I don't understand why in the world JJ McCarthy was taken by the Minnesota Vikings. Help me understand why this has happened. 10th overall pick.
I know. I mean, the big thing for me, like I understand, I get it that quarterback is a super important position in football, especially in the NFL. And if you don't have a quarterback, you don't have much. But that was a lot of really high draft capital. Wasn't it like 6 out of the first 12 picks were quarterbacks? I mean, like, it just feels like every year a couple guys just kind of rise up. You know what I mean? That everybody's looking for a quarterback. Certain guys rise up the list. And to me, it felt like J.J. McCarthy was that guy this year. I don't get it. He was a really good college quarterback. He may very well end up. He just seems like a kind of a pedestrian backup in the NFL. That's what he looks like to me. But obviously the Vikings saw something. I don't know if we're at peak quarterback or what the deal is, but it seems like people are wishing quarterbacks into an elite level that they don't necessarily possess. I don't know if that didn't really make sense, but I think you know what I'm talking about.
The College Corner is headed to Oxford. Stop by their new location in the Oxford Commons off Sisk Avenue. They'll have 4,000 square feet of Rebel gear ready for your trip to the Grove. On your next trip to Oxford, stop by the College Corner or our other great locations in Ridgeland and Flowood. Hats, shirts, polos, pullovers, sweats, t-shirts. College Corner has it all. And as always, you can visit us online at collegecornerstore.com. That's collegecornerstore.com. The College Corner, where your game day apparel meets.
Hi, this is Kevin Kessinger, former Ole Miss baseball player, son of Ole Miss Hall of Famer Don Kessinger, and dad to Ole Miss All-American shortstop Gray Kessinger, and your local community banker with B&A Bank. B&A Bank has invested 125 years in our communities, and we know the needs of North Mississippi businesses better than anyone. As a commercial lender with B&A Bank, my priority is Oxford, and I'd love to help you and your business with any lending needs.
Visit www.bnabank.com to learn more. B&A Bank, local, invested, modern banking. Member FDIC, equal housing lender.
This is Cali. With C Spire's blazing fast nationwide 5G network, she's got her fans in the palm of her hands. Live streaming her Mississippi blues from her phone wherever she is, to out there wherever they are. Right now, get the latest 5G phone on us. Only at C Spire. Customer inspired.
What was it that you told me when it happened? You were like, how can what was he, like the 5th or 6th?
He was the 5th because the top 3 picks, and then Penix went to the Falcons. Everybody was like, what? And then McCarthy was the 5th quarterback taken. So you're saying the 5th best quarterback in the draft, even if you believe that, is worth the number 10 overall pick. I just don't know. I mean, like, and again, I get it. The quarterback position's super important, not to mention it drives ticket sales and all those different things. But, man, it seems like it. And I feel bad for Penix that now apparently is going to have to wait until he's like 28 to play.
Yeah. That was just bizarre. I didn't hate the Penix pick as much as the McCarthy one. I mean, what kind of mileage are you actually getting out of Kirk Cousins? Now, look, the Falcons gave him just a ridiculous amount of money.
Yeah.
But when have we known the Falcons to make, healthy
great decisions? That's true.
I just don't know. I mean, at the end of the day, I think Michael Penix is a better quarterback than J.J. McCarthy.
Oh, I do too.
Or not?
No question. No question. I mean, that was the thing. Like you just talked about a few minutes ago. Like, we're not scouts. You know football better than I do, but we're not scouts. But like, you're going off just kind of eye test. And when Michael Penix played, I was like, wow. You know what I mean? Like, he made some throws that I was really impressed with watching Washington. And McCarthy, maybe it was because of the offense. They had the running game, the offensive line, but I just never watched J.J. McCarthy and was like, wow, that's an NFL throw. Wow, that's an NFL throw. The one thing I will give, he's still young. He's 21 years old. I think there is some room for, just physical, getting a little better in that on top of, just the mental aspect of going to the NFL. But yeah, I never watched J.J. McCarthy. It was like, that's a first round surefire NFL quarterback. And that's what obviously the Vikings do, or they wouldn't have taken him there.
Yeah. I just and like again, like
I mean, honestly, I think Bo Nix is better. I really like Bo Nix. I thought Bo Nix was a better quarterback than J.J. McCarthy.
winningest quarterback in college football history, right?
Right. And he just really gives me Justin Herbert vibes for some reason.
Is he
I
winningest
just
or has he just played in the most games? I can't remember.
I that's a good question. I wrote that story. I should know that because I covered that absolute abomination where the Oregon just crushed Liberty.
I want to say it was. I think it's the most games played.
I think he's the most experienced quarterback
That's it. Yeah,
in college.
winningest has got to be like Leinart or Carson Palmer, right?
Yeah, I would think so. Somebody that was on like 4 teams that were 11-0 or 12-0 in a row or 11-1 breaks.
Let's fire up the Google machine.
Let's.
It's Kellen Moore.
Oh, we should have known that.
50-3.
That's a pretty good college career.
Yeah. Look,
he was an offensive coordinator for a while for
the Cowboys.
Yeah. Is he still there? I
don't. Yeah, he's the OC for the Eagles now.
Oh, okay.
He's now got the highest paid receiver in the NFL right now. Probably makes your job a little easier to have AJ Brown to throw to.
He got paid.
Yeah.
Deservedly so.
People in Nashville are still not over that.
I understand that. He's, I mean, like, it's like he's a Marvin Harrison level talent, I mean, like a true difference maker, playmaker. Like those guys, that's tough.
Yeah. Having to explain to my 4-year-old, like, hey, not only does this jersey not fit you anymore, but he doesn't play for this team anymore. Which the new favorite word in our house is why. So yeah, why? Well, I don't know why the Titans.
Right. Yeah. That's a great question. If you figure it out, please tell me.
Yeah. So yeah, Dane Brugler, he does this for a living. This is his world, the draft. He listed McCarthy as his favorite pick for the Vikings, a team that drafted Dallas Turner, Kyrie Jackson, Will Reichard, the kicker from Alabama. He said, quote, "The Vikings process was a little complicated, and we can break down those decisions another time. But they came out of the first round with 2 players who should be cornerstone pieces. McCarthy was a tricky prospect to evaluate because you wanted to see more from his tape." You think?
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing. Like, he played some football.
The tools and intangibles. Like, I
don't know. Like, intangibles is for like a guy who went in the 4th round. You know what I mean? I mean, to me, like, I thought like Dak Prescott was a lot better prospect than J.J. McCarthy, and Dak went in the 3rd round, and then he got some injury. Tony Romo gets hurt, and he immediately goes into the starting role. But it wasn't like
Yeah,
I like Dak Prescott as a prospect, even back in high. Not knowing what we know now, like even back then, I liked that. So. I don't know. I just think, again, I think people, in the absence of elite quarterbacks, people kind of wish them into existence. And if you're telling me there's 6 elite quarterbacks in that draft, I don't believe it.
Elite is the operative word there. Like, are there
it's doing a lot of heavy lifting.
Starting quarterbacks? Sure.
Yeah, probably. But if you're picking a top 10 quarterback, like, you're expecting them to be pretty good, like not just a guy.
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
You're expecting them to be an above average NFL quarterback, and that's not easy to do.
Yeah, you're drafting him to play in the NFL, not the Big Ten. Last thing here, who did you or go ahead? What you got?
No, I didn't. It wasn't anything interesting.
Who do you think had the best draft?
Who had the best draft? I'm gonna have to. I've slept since then.
I've already got people in Chicago saying that the Bears have the best offense in football.
Yeah, I mean the Bears. Like, it's hard. again, when you've got the number 1 overall pick, that's kind of cheating. But I think, they did really well with picks, getting Odunze and, yeah, I mean, their offense looks so much fun. And I got a lot of friends who are Bears fans, and they're so excited. I hope they don't fall on their face like they have so many times in the past. I remember them being very excited about Justin Fields a few years ago too. So I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I think the Bears are certainly up there. I mean, you
The
can't.
Bears did well. I really liked what the Eagles did. I mean, the Eagles had a really
Yeah.
good draft. They made some trades. I really like Mitchell, the corner that they got at 22. And then they got, Cooper, the Iowa guy, number 40. I like their draft a lot.
The Quinyon Mitchell guy from Toledo, really cool story about how he stuck with the Rockets. His grandmother, was big on character and following through in life, and he thought that he owed it to his grandmother to not get in the portal. And then, oh, by the way, Nick Saban just openly admits to tampering on the
I saw that
broadcast.
too. Right.
Like, yeah.
Nick Saban giving 0 Fs in his old age.
Yeah, and then everybody's like, "Do you think Alabama will get in trouble?" Like, what do you think?
Come on. I'll just settle for a holding call.
I think Anaya Smith being picked up by the Eagles, like they're gonna do some fun stuff with him in the offense. I like that. I like that pickup better than Will Shipley.
Yeah.
The Clemson.
I mean,
running back.
I like Shipley, but I think both of those are solid pickups, especially at that point in the draft.
Yeah.
The Athletic has the Cardinals as the number 5 class, and I agree. I think the Cardinals did well, not just because they not just quality but quantity helps too. They really needed quantity. They need a lot of guys who could just are NFL players, and to get 12 guys. And like I said, 10 that I think will make the roster. That's pretty good.
Yeah.
I liked what the Chargers did, getting Lad McConkey in the second round.
Yeah.
Are you not a Lad McConkey guy? Are you?
I mean, I gotta see.
Maybe I just like his name.
Yeah, I mean, there's no doubt he can play. Is he gonna be? That's just really high for me. Like, are
Right.
we second round guy? Like you're gonna
Like
need,
how high is his ceiling? I agree
right.
with that.
Like you're gonna need to contribute immediately, but also like you're getting paid to contribute a lot immediately. Yeah, I mean it was I thought it was a fun draft. I liked I thought Detroit was a great setting. Everything looked good on
Yeah,
television.
everything looked great. I mean, and I had a few friends who were up there actually covering it. They said it was pretty awesome. And they said what you saw on TV was pretty much how the Commanders too. They got that Mike Sanders still, who I enjoyed watching him play. The corner out of Michigan. He reminds me so much of Mike Hilton, who played for Ole Miss.
Yeah.
Because Mike Hilton, you would see him on campus, and he just looked like a dude. He's like 5'10", 180, great kid, awesome. But you would never believe that he was not just a really good Division I football player, but actually a very good NFL player, still a good NFL player. And Sanders still was kind of the same type of guy, who you look at him and then you watch him on the field and it just doesn't seem to compute. But I love guys like that.
Yeah. All right. Before we get into kind of our last little segment here, healthy reminder, which hey, literally and figuratively, a healthy reminder. The show is also brought to you by USA Benefits Group and our good buddy Drew Moak. You're looking to cut those premiums by 20 to 30%. Aging into Medicare, you need a Medicare supplement plan. You can call Drew 601-953-8449. Local and accessible, access to 35 different carriers. He works with the nation's second largest health insurance brokerage. So he can help you with any of your health insurance needs. So that's health plans, life insurance, dental, vision, Medicare. He's got it all covered. He's an Ole Miss guy, located in Mississippi, but has his license in 7 states, so he doesn't have to. You don't have to be pigeonholed to just Mississippi. He can help you elsewhere. So give him a call 601-953-8449 or visit usabg.com/DMOAK and get your free quote today. All right. Last thing here, David. The folks over at DraftKings put out some week 1 lines.
Ooh.
We're not gonna go through all of them, and I can send you the link if you need it, unless you're googling it right now. But
I am trying to Google it.
I fired it over to you.
Nice.
Couple things that jump out, very interesting right off the bat. Florida State, only a 13.5-point favorite over Georgia Tech, and even more curious, a double dosage here, David. North Carolina is an underdog against Minnesota. It's +1, but still an underdog. And then Colorado only favored by 7 against North Dakota State to open the year. The Bison going up against Dion.
That's a tricky game. And especially, Colorado, we talked about how they weren't very good last year. I could see.
Dude, if I'm Dion, what are you doing scheduling this game?
Yeah, that's a no-win situation. Even if you win that game pretty big, you're supposed to win that game. But that's a tough game. That is a good program. They've knocked off. I always get like North Dakota State, and some of them confused. But I know they have a history of knocking off teams. Like you said, that's a bold choice to schedule that game.
Yeah, and you just lost Dylan Edwards, your best running back, to Kansas State. Travis Hunter is there. You got Shadur Sanders, draft year. You got to put up numbers, and you gotta try to win more than you did last year. But man, the Bison are going to be coming in there, really trying to ruin the party up in Boulder. That one's tricky. I mean, if
the Minnesota line you were talking about, and I don't know Minnesota very well, but North Carolina, obviously, you're breaking in a new quarterback like that.
Yeah.
So I get it a little bit.
Too.
Right.
But yeah, I think another one, like if you're a true, I guess this is week 0, or I don't know if it's week 0 or week 1, but if you're a true sicko and you really want to get weird with it, Oklahoma, SEC season opener, 39.5-point favorite over Temple. Penn State, Drew Aller's back. James Franklin and company trying to rebound from the Peach Bowl beat down. 12-point favorite over West Virginia. Neil Brown still got a job. They tried to run him out of town, David.
He's an all-time survivor. Texas A&M, a 2-point favorite over Notre Dame.
Yeah, how about that? And then Florida and Miami opening up. Miami a 2-point favorite. This one's fun. Michigan, no more Harbaugh, no more McCarthy. 23-point favorite over Fresno State. Got Jeff Tedford back there in the Valley. The one that everyone's got circled, obviously, or I guess the two that everyone has circled. Clemson, Georgia. Georgia 13.5-point favorite. I'm probably laying those points. And then LSU 6-point favorite in LA. I believe that's in LA.
I think so.
Against Southern.
That's a Sunday game too. That'll be fun.
Vegas. Oh, it's in Vegas. Vegas Kickoff Classic at Allegiant Stadium. So there you go. So it's a road game for LSU.
Right.
Yeah, it's fun. I'm glad that we're already doing this. Like, I saw that the lines were released, and I no hesitation. I'm immediately clicking on it and looking.
Yeah, well, the great that, so much is going to change. Like, we don't even, but the stuff's fun. It's like, there's a constant, especially working for the AP, you always have like a certain section of people that are the drumbeat. Like, why is there a preseason top 25 poll? It's just conjecture. It's stupid. It's like, it's fun. That's why we get people talking. Like, they're like, and I don't buy the argument. Like, if you're a good team, the cream rises to the top every year. Like, it always works out. Just enjoy the preseason poll, argue about it. It's fine. There are other things in life to worry about.
Look, don't waste your time being mad about Wisconsin being 16th in the preseason poll. It's
exactly.
Just,
like, if Wisconsin is better than 16 in the preseason poll, they'll figure it out, or they won't, and then they'll fall out of the poll by week 3. That happens every year. Like, it's okay. Is Notre Dame rated too high? Probably, but they'll eventually lose and they'll drop.
Yeah,
and it's funny every single year.
Absolutely. But yeah, hoping to see more of these lines coming out. Excited to see where Ole Miss falls. Now, the first 4 weeks for Ole Miss are pretty lackluster. But nevertheless, we will have all of that covered for you at omspirit.com, an affiliate of On3. We've got portal news. We got recruiting. Both basketball and football are busy in the portal. As we were recording this, Coach Yo and the Ole Miss women added another portal addition. UCLA forward Christine Iwala. I hope I'm saying that right. Forward from out in I guess that's Westwood, right? That correct? Westwood is the campus for UCLA. So another pickup
yes.
for the Bruins. So yeah, we'll have all of that recruiting coverage for you, portal coverage. We'll have more podcasts later this week as the calendar has turned to May, and we will be preparing for look, there's no summer doldrums, David. We're gonna be firing on all cylinders all summer.
There's no off season. There's going to be more lines released that we can argue about. We can talk degenerate gambler talk in May for football games that are going to happen in 4 months.
And look, worst case, we'll just come back and just we'll talk about JJ McCarthy being a bum and how I don't think he's any good.
JJ, but because we have done this, JJ McCarthy is going to be the best quarterback in the history of the NFL.
Maybe the algorithm will somehow find him and he'll want to come on the show and defend himself.
That would be amazing. Just kind of bomb in. JJ McCarthy has entered the chat. You guys, he's like, you think I suck? You guys suck.
Yeah.
It's like, fair enough.
Yeah. Sorry. You got me there. All right. Well, we appreciate David as always. College Corner, USA Benefits Group, and then of course you, the listener, for tuning in. Everybody at YouTube, appreciate y'all joining us on your Wednesday. But until next episode, Ben and I will be doing one on Thursday, and we'll have more Ivy League coming to you and more. So appreciate y'all. Appreciate you, David. And until next time, we out of here.